Good morning and happy Wednesday. It is December 11th, and welcome to ATI Pro Media. I think the number for today is going to be a 450, right? I think Brady will tell us exactly. Maybe it's 451, but we are hammering on that ceiling, looking at March corn. We need to break through, right? Following yesterday, we saw a friendly USDA report. Mostly on the back of corn exports, right? That was the big surprise. And I think we need to talk about is when we're talking exports, can we see the follow through, right? Are we going to see that? Is that going to be our bullish story that's going to pull us in 2025? I sure hope so. Other news we got a CPI number released as well. I think most of the focus on the USDA was the corn market, kind of a snoozer looking at soybeans and wheat. But I think there's still some numbers we need to respect. And then also tomorrow, we need to be paying attention to the CONAB numbers as well. Bring Brady in. Is there anything I missed? Brady, what do you want to talk about today?
The Bulls are back in town, Connor. The grain bulls are back in town. Corn, wheat bulls. It's good to see a nice rally here, testing those upper ends. Good stuff. But yeah, like you said, beans. I wish they had a little more fuel in their fire. Jan beans still below $10.
Yeah. And I think if corn number that we need to keep in mind is 450, or you'll tell us where that moving average is here shortly. Soybeans, I got a number for you. It's 169. Okay. We'll talk about it later, and I'll tell you when. But with that, let's jump right into it. I think the first thing, let's go over CPI number, right? Looking at inflation, consumer price index showed a 12-month inflation rate of 2.7% after increasing 0.3% on the month, right? The annual rate was 0.1 percentage higher than October, very much in line. Core CPI excluding food and energy costs was 3.3%. Basically right in line with consensus estimates. I think it very much sets up a rate cut from the Fed next week. I saw something, it was almost traders raising the odds to 99% that we'll see some type of rate cut.
Quarter point rate cut here at the Fed meeting next week. It'll be real interesting how this, to me, the CPI data, it kind of just a nothing event. Isn't anything to run home and panic about, but or change the tune going forward. But it'll be interesting to see what the Fed Chair Powell has to say next week at the meeting, and where the dot plot looks for the foreseeable future, the next 3 months, 6 months. What's the sentiment there with where rates are going to go going forward? Kind of backed off a little bit, but that quarter point, it's been kind of lingering there for a while, but it looks like we're going to get it today.
Yeah. So, overall message, we didn't see any surprises with CPI data. I think we'll see a rate cut. And then by then, it's going to be into 2025 is going to be here before we know it, Brady. And we'll keep seeing if the Fed cutting rates, right? We'll know very clearly in about 6 months, was it the right decision? Should they have left it alone? Time will tell. We'll see. But yeah, Fed meeting next week, we'll make sure to be watching that as well.
Yep. Big implications on the dollar. That's the other thing, I guess, as my mind just thinks about it a little bit more and thinks of other talking points with it. But what the Fed does with the rate and where their decisions on that could impact the U.S. dollar, which has been on a tear here recently. And very, very strong U.S. dollar, which isn't great for exports. But the only other point I'd add.
We'll see. So let's talk. We went live for the USDA report. We saw the price action. Big surprise, right? The overall message that I'm thinking about is that going through 2024, the year we've had, right? We've got a record yield in about 25 days. We're going to know what type of record it is, right? Could we see another pullback on that yield number? Who knows? But given that year, right, all through 2024, and we saw ending stocks decrease. What was the number, Brady? 22 million year on year, something like that. And so, the big story is exports increased, right? That's been our bullish story. Before we jump into corn, I do want to pay attention to soy oil, right? I said soybeans was a nothing. Didn't show us anything on the USDA report, but looking at soy oil, right? We've got it's totaled, over 400,000 metric tons as of November 28th, an 8-year high for the date. right, surged very significantly, as you can see on this chart, right? We're getting into, uh, you know, near highs. So, my question when I look at that, right, and I think overall, when I look at exports, and I'm looking forward to 2025 and trying to build a bullish case, is can we see the follow through, right?
Mhm.
Are we seeing this? Is this a front loading of exports? Are we seeing, good buying, kind of ahead of Brazil's soybean crop? Maybe, we're seeing Mexico come to the table, potential ahead of any type of Trump tariffs. Or is this going to be continued follow through and we're going to see good exports, throughout the year? And that's going to be our bullish story. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you look at that 1.7 stocks use ratio, you raise a 15 billion bushel corn crop, you have an ending stocks of 1.7, you're still in that 11 to 12% stocks use ratio. That's knocking on the door of tightness and concern on the U.S. front. So it's exciting, and I think that the trade gets a little excited about it. Of maybe we could, you know, and you see a little reaction, not a crazy reaction though. I mean, we're up 7 cents. We've had 5, 6 strong days in corn market, but and we'll look at charts here in a little bit, but I don't
yeah.
know. That's a big change on the balance sheet, but if think things aren't too crazy, I guess. But I don't know. You guys do a great job raising the grain and producing a crop, and unless something big happens, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But 450 is definitely respectable.
You said it. You said it right. Where it was such a bullish USDA report, and we saw corn up 7. Right. I think all of us. Right. When I saw that number, I was hoping for a little bit more fireworks. But hey, we'll take where we can get. I think the
Mhm.
one thing to keep in mind is we're talking great exports, and all that. Do you know how much corn China's bought from the United States, Brady?
I have no pop
It's
quiz.
still 0. It is still 0, right? Which begins as of September 1st, which is the beginning of the 24-25 marketing year, right? China still hasn't came to the table. Very good chance maybe they don't. But I think we got to keep that in mind, right? It's kind of a wild card, right? Can we see really good exports and then we see China have to buy as well, right?
Mm,
And then also, any type of good U.S. exports, if we see problems with that safrina crop, which they're going to start planting here in a couple months, 2-3 months, I think. Don't quote me on that. Anything like that, it's a recipe for a bullish market. But right, I've got that little bird in the back of my head saying, is this front loaded? Can we sustain this, right? And keep having the follow through in the core market.
yep, yep. Big
So
questions, Connor. Big questions.
the other one I have for you, right? We talked about soybeans. Not they didn't really adjust anything, and going down south to South America, they adjusted nothing for Brazil, and I think ever so slightly on Argentina. But when I said numbers we're paying attention to is when I look at that South America crop production number for Brazil, and it's a 169 million metric ton. Right, last year it was 153, and it was a pretty good growing year for them. So we're looking at record production, right? Tomorrow, I think we'll save a lot of the South America Brazil talk. Don't let me get on a tangent here, Brady. We'll save that for tomorrow because we'll have the CONAB numbers and we'll be able to look at them. But that's a big soybean number and a one that's probably, when we look at this soybean market, is really going to weigh the market. It's going to weigh it down unless we see some type of weather issues or, maybe soybeans can catch a bid. But we know, we talked about this, was it yesterday or Monday? I can't remember. They all blend together. But just looking at U.S. soybean exports, right? It's kind of a cliff, right? It drops significantly here in the next 30 days. So that's the number that comes to mind when I'm looking at soybeans is that big Brazil soybean crop.
Yep. Yep. Well, if you want to talk about doing more with less, it's, the farmers across the world are great at producing crops and doing better without really, I mean, you can make the case in South America, they're gaining land to do it on, but in the US, we're not really gaining acres to, increase our production. We're just doing a better job of farming because of the technology and the farming practices and the genetics, and just it takes a little bit to have a big problem. But yeah, doing more with less. Vivek and Elon, they'd be proud. I think we can safely say that.
Hey, let's look. We talked about just looking at resistance. If you want, let's look at March corn and just see in terms of looking at a chart. What are we dealing with right now? When I say we're hitting that 450, you want to pull that up?
Okay. Yep. I'll click the button here. Got a March corn chart here. Looking at the March corn on a daily time frame. This red line is a 200-day moving average, and we're knocking on that 200-day moving average there. You can see that right there.
And that's at
450 level.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
451 and a
Okay.
half is a 200-day moving average.
Yeah.
So,
And so
and yeah,
go ahead.
overnight high was 451 and a quarter.
Yeah,
So we
that's what I was
just
gonna.
almost hit it.
Yeah.
But
And so if we're gonna, if we're gonna be bullish, gosh, it'd be nice to see some follow through and a close right there. As I saw the market open this morning, right, it really felt like we were just hammering that ceiling, 450. Right now, we're up half a cent at 449 and a half. So time will tell. Other one I'm looking at, not to put you on the spot, Brady, but I'm looking at D's 25, right?
okay,
Um,
let's flip
you
over
know,
that and see what we got on that one. So,
uh,
similar, not quite. We're not at the 200-day on D's 25. We're knocking on the 100-day and 50-day moving average. The blue line is the 100 and the green is the 50 right here. But D's 25 sub 430. Now we're in that 440, 442 area, knocking on that door. But Ryan Grease with ATI broker in Texas had a nice line he drew on one of his charts. I'm going to see if I can duplicate that. He took this trend line here, and boy, we broke above it a little bit on D's 25. So maybe you could make the case we're breaking above that trend line on D's 25. But you can't ignore the opportunity there. That I don't know. This is that moment, Connor, where you get a little excited. The bull excitement comes in, and you can't help but say,
like
"Hey, can we
the
go?
thrill, it starts coming. Yeah.
Where can we go?"
When I look at that, sometimes I think when I'm looking at 25 marketing December 11th, right? Sometimes I think one of the most important steps we can make is the first one, right? I'm a proponent, especially for the Central Illinois farmer, making an early sale. Okay. It's very hard, but if we can just start, if you're looking at 25 crop and you're 100% long, right? There's things we need to do to start reducing risk. And I look at that, I see a level that I don't hate right there, right? We hope it's your worst sale. But if we're knocking on the door, I want to do something. So that's where my head goes when I look at that, Brady.
Yeah, that's a good spot to maybe gain control. And like you said, yeah, you can leg in there. But I like it. It's good to see. It's that cancel if close type season. You get a little excitement, and we get a little rally, and you're excited. Where can it go here? But 450 to 470 definitely areas I think guys got to respect. And if you felt behind, it's a good area to catch up.
Yeah. Should we look? You want to look at soybeans real quick?
Okay. Which month? What contract you want?
Let's
Front month?
let's do March, and then we can look at Nov 25 too if you want.
Yeah, we'll look at here's March beans.
Yeah. So not, in terms of hitting resistance, a little bit different story, right?
Yeah.
Very
Soybeans
much.
just uninspiring there. Just not a whole lot of move. Corn making a big run here the last 4, 5, 6 days, and beans have just done a whole lot of nothing there. And that $10 level on both March and Jan being resistance there.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, yeah. Always fun to look at the chart, right? I'm not married to, sometimes I don't want to get too caught up in looking at charts, right? We can get caught up in the financial astrology, but it's good to look at, good to see. And we'll see if we can get that closing corn. Right now, it looks like we're, trending the other way, up a half cent. But hey, time will tell. We got a lot of day left. So with that, right, premium, flipping it over, you and Tony Dunker talked about the meats.
Yep. Tony and I talked hogs, talked cattle a little bit, and touched on a little bit of grains, but some opportunity there knocking on the door. Cattle having a nice day today, up $1.40, but still very much range bound and kind of chopping in a area. Haven't broke above that 260, 262 area. Feeder cattle index leaked a little bit lower on Monday, but up really strong. Fun premium episode. Tony is a wealth of knowledge, and great to have her on with us. So. What do you got? Did you already knock out today's premium, Connor?
I did. I got it filmed. I got a busy day, so I wanted to get it out. And it was one of those, I think when I envision premium, it's a good mix of, real recommendations where we're telling you what we're doing for customers, things you should be looking at. And then also a mix of, sometimes when we look at grain marketing, we got to make sure we've got our psyche and philosophy right. So that's, I won't spoil it too much, but that's what I tried to film. Just one that just talking about maybe a little bit philosophy more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Good things to remember as we, these markets are moving, and there's a lot of questions on what I should do. And yeah, absolutely, good things to think about.
Yep. Well, we got a few questions. Let's pop them up there, and we'll get out of here. Here we go. Bourbon Brown. If I remember right, you're the one that said a couple months ago, maybe it was 6 months ago by now. It was what did he say? If you have soybeans, sell them. If your grandma has soybeans, sell her too.
Yeah, one of the best comments we've ever had. I think that was a great one.
Beans up 2 3/4. How come? I think we'll take it. Beans up 3. I guess we got to respect the soy oil number. We're still going to trade South America, but yeah, he was the one to say it. So I don't know. We'll see a good chopping around though, but I think it's got to be soy oil, right, Brady? Am I missing anything?
Yeah, and just rising tide lifts all boats. You get corn going up, you get wheat going up, and they're going to drag the other commodities up with them. So
yeah,
what was that? Flash
still selling everybody in the family. Good to hear. Good to hear. Maybe never mind. I won't say it. Luke, say you sold Ben corn today and wanted to buy a corn call. July is usually likely to have the most demand in a hot market, right? With options, is it cost prohibitive for a long dated option? Ooh, good question.
That's a great question. You want to take a stab at it, Connor?
Sure. Yeah. When we look at, I know where you're going with that, Luke, is when we look at the corn market, right? When we hit the high, right? That seasonality is May, June, July. And so it makes sense if we're buying old crop calls, right? Me personally, right? I think I look at March, May, July, right? 3 months ago, I think it made sense to put calls in the March. Now, if we're selling grain, I think absolutely we can look at getting the July call on, right? And it's way that if we see any type of production issues for 2025, right, that July call is going to keep us in the market. So and then in terms of demand, right, July is usually likely to have the most demand in a hot market. Go ahead.
My comment with that would be, there's more uncertainty. Sometimes you get into that new crop uncertainty time frame, and you overlap into the safrinha corn production that time of year. Safrinha will be prime time growing season in April, May, June, and we're putting the U.S. crop in. So you get to that time of year where you have a lot of uncertainty in the market, and maybe that provides a little premium to come in and something to change to get the trade concern and elevate those prices. But yeah, volatility is so low in the market right now that time's your friend, and it's not too terribly expensive to go out and buy that time to cover a good sale and reward that market. So I don't know that there's a wrong answer on where to place calls as long as you stay disciplined with staying in the game and getting them on.
Yeah. You can always look back in hindsight. I should have bought the March call, should have bought the July, right? But at the end of the day, right, if we're reducing risk, that's why we're getting calls on, and then we can talk about what we want to accomplish. But yes, I'm with you, Luke. I like the July calls. It's a good way if we're converting corn to cash, we want to stay in the market. July calls make a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, any closing thoughts? I think we went a little long, Brady. Joe's going to be he's doing this to us.
Is he giving the wrap up signal?
He's giving the wrap up
down there. No, not quite yet.
So all right. Well, tomorrow, right, we got CONAB numbers. We're gonna have Cesar give us a little update on Brazil, Argentina. It'll be one that I'm very excited to hear from him. So any other closing thoughts? We'll wrap it up.
Nope. Can't wait to hear what Dr. Cruz says tomorrow's premium. Got your premium knocked out already today. We'll get back to our day jobs, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Sounds good. Have a good day, everyone.